What kind of explosive adults-only movie could leave someone numb from head to toe? If you saw a sweet-looking young woman live streaming alone in a remote mountain forest, would you assume she was nothing more than helpless prey? Outdoor creator Soo-yeon has barely finished setting up her tent when she starts her live stream. In front of the camera, her gentle smile makes her look completely harmless. But the next second, strange noises begin echoing around the campsite. Then a sharp knife slices straight through the tent. A masked attacker suddenly bursts inside and drags the terrified woman up by force. The rest of the gang quickly surrounds her, ties her hands and feet, and subjects her to degrading abuse while filming everything. They plan to upload the footage to the dark web and make a fortune from their sick operation. At this point, every viewer feels sorry for Soo-yeon. She appears to be an innocent young woman who has fallen directly into a gang of violent predators. But this is where the director delivers the movie's biggest reversal. Everyone assumes Soo-yeon is an unfortunate victim who wandered into danger by accident. What no one realizes is that this terrifying hunt in the wilderness has been a deadly trap carefully designed by Soo-yeon from the very beginning. These arrogant masked men believe they control everything. They have no idea that the helpless prey they traveled so far to hunt is actually an elite hunter who has spent years waiting for them to walk into her trap. The story begins with what appears to be an ordinary camping live stream. Broadcasting from remote forests is routine for countless outdoor creators. It is also the favorite hunting ground of a criminal live stream group known as Flex. They specifically target women camping alone. Remote mountains have no security cameras and almost no witnesses. By hiding behind masks, Flex has spent years attacking victims and profiting from the footage without ever being caught. But today, they have chosen the worst possible target. The entire Flex crew gathers around the restrained Soo-yeon and proudly poses for a group photograph. Their leader, Alex, begins discussing what they will do next. One impatient member immediately steps forward to provoke her. But why does Soo-yeon show no fear despite being surrounded? Instead of backing down, she openly fights back and humiliates the man in front of the others. Furious at being embarrassed, the attacker raises his hand against her. Soo-yeon responds instantly. She drives a powerful kick into him, knocks down the two men guarding her, then pulls out a smoke grenade she concealed earlier. As smoke fills the campsite, she attempts to break through their formation and escape. Watching the chaos unfold, Alex does not panic. Instead, he becomes even more excited. To him, this confrontation is nothing more than a thrilling live-action game. He is completely addicted to the excitement of the hunt. In Alex's eyes, no matter how fiercely a woman fights back, she is only delaying the inevitable. Her defeat is merely a matter of time, but he could never imagine that the game he finds so entertaining will destroy his entire organization. The gentle travel creator known across the internet as Soo-yeon is only a false identity she created. Soo-yeon is a former Special Forces soldier trained in close combat, tactical planning, traps, and reconnaissance. Why would a woman with elite military training pretend to be a vulnerable camping creator, enter a remote forest alone, and deliberately attract a gang of violent criminals? The answer lies in a blood debt that has remained unpaid for years. Soo-yeon's younger sister, Soo-ji, also loved outdoor live streaming. Several years earlier, Soo-ji went camping alone in the mountains and was targeted by Flex. The masked gang abused her, recorded the entire ordeal, and distributed the footage through their hidden network. In the end, they took the young woman's life. The most devastating part was that every attacker kept his face covered throughout the crime. They left behind no clear evidence of their identities. The police investigated for years but found nothing. Every member of Flex remained free, continuing to profit from the suffering of innocent victims. Soo-ji died without justice. The people responsible faced no consequences, and the law was unable to reach them. Driven beyond the limits of despair, Soo-yeon made a vow before her sister's memorial. If the law could not deliver justice, she would carry it out herself. Every person involved would be forced to pay for what they had done. That is the truth behind Soo-yeon's entire operation. She copied Soo-ji's style of live streaming and deliberately began broadcasting alone in the mountains. She carefully created the image of an isolated and defenseless woman. Soo-yeon knew that Flex, a group that specifically hunted female live streamers, would eventually take the bait. She also spent several days exploring every part of the forest. Throughout the area, she installed traps and hid professional combat equipment. She did not come here to live stream. She came here to lure her sister's killers into a death trap. Once the truth is revealed, the entire story changes. From the moment Soo-yeon started the broadcast, the roles of hunter and prey had already been reversed. The Flex members believe they randomly selected an unlucky internet celebrity. In reality, Soo-yeon spent years creating a stage designed specifically for their destruction. After changing into her combat gear, Soo-yeon's expression becomes cold and merciless. She has waited years for this day. Not one of the people responsible for Soo-ji's death will leave this forest alive. The hunt officially begins. The first Flex member to separate from the group is a man wearing glasses. He whistles happily while searching for Soo-yeon, completely unaware of the trap hidden beneath the leaves at his feet. A sharp cracking sound suddenly tears through the silence. The mechanism activates instantly. For the first time in his life, a man who has always preyed on the vulnerable experiences complete helplessness and despair. Soo-yeon appears in front of him. She makes him experience the same fear and suffering that Soo-ji once endured. Her second target is Kim PD, the crew's cameraman. He may not be the most physically violent member of Flex, but he is one of the most disturbed. He enjoys filming other people's terror and recording the helplessness of their victims. He then sells the footage for profit. Kim PD sweeps his camera across every patch of grass. A twisted smile hangs on his face as he enjoys the illusion that he controls everything. He never notices that he has already become the target outside his own camera frame. Soo-yeon silently approaches him from behind. She uses a thick rope to restrain him and ties him tightly against a tree. Then she takes the camera he is so proud of and records his final moments of despair. Years ago, Kim PD used that same lens to capture Soo-ji's suffering and turn it into profit. Today, Soo-yeon uses his camera to preserve the consequences of his actions. Every moment of pain Soo-ji was forced to endure will now be returned to him many times over. His screams tear through the silence of the forest and reach the remaining members of Flex. Only now do these criminals finally realize that something is wrong. The woman they targeted is not a helpless internet creator. She is an avenger who entered this forest specifically to collect their lives. The endless jungle hunt has officially begun. As one member after another disappears, panic spreads through the group. Fear creates cracks between them, but Alex forces everyone to keep moving deeper into the forest in search of Soo-yeon. The third attacker becomes separated from the others and escapes toward a river, believing he has found a safe place to hide. He fails to realize that Soo-yeon has already been waiting beneath the cold water. She suddenly emerges and attacks before he has time to react. His desperate resistance is completely useless against a professionally trained Special Forces soldier. Even when he struggles and begs for mercy, Soo-yeon does not let him escape. Those who once treated other people's lives as entertainment never imagined that they would one day have to pay for their actions with their own lives. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, the remaining heavy-set attackers form a temporary alliance. They believe staying together will keep them safe. The smaller man hides behind his larger companion, trembling with fear. The larger man charges forward with a knife, determined to fight his way out. But he has strength without strategy. In his panic, he rushes directly towards Soo-yeon's spear and takes the weapon through his shoulder. Severely wounded, he loses his ability to fight back. Soo-yeon immediately closes the distance and finishes the confrontation, forcing him to pay the price for everything he helped Flex do. After watching his companion fall, the smaller man's legs instantly weaken. He abandons every trace of pride, drops to his knees, and begs Soo-yeon to forgive him. But this moment exposes the most hypocritical side of human nature. When these men held the power, they were cold, cruel, and completely without mercy. Now that they are the ones facing death, they suddenly expect the world to treat them gently. He never stopped to remember that when Soo-ji begged for mercy, not one of them showed the slightest compassion. Do people like this deserve forgiveness? The answer has already been decided. The man's cries for help suddenly stop. When Alex arrives with the few remaining members of Flex, all he finds are the bodies of his fallen companions. Most people would be terrified after losing so many members and would immediately retreat, but the deaths only awaken something even darker inside Alex. Instead of making him stop, the danger makes him increasingly excited. He becomes completely addicted to the deadly game unfolding around him. Monica, the only woman in the Flex crew, begins to feel genuine fear. She repeatedly urges Alex to leave the forest before they lose anyone else, but Alex has become too obsessed to listen. With Tiger, the crew's heavily armed bodyguard, still beside him, Alex believes the three of them will be impossible to defeat as long as they remain together. Only 3 members of Flex are now left in the forest. Soo-yeon moves rapidly through the trees, disappearing between them like a ghost. She returns to the original campsite and retrieves the final weapon she hid there. When the 3 surviving criminals look up, they discover white sheets hanging throughout the forest. The silent fabric sways in the wind, making the entire area resemble a natural cemetery. The story now reaches its most shocking reversal and one of the darkest moments in the entire film. Soo-yeon deliberately drops her phone and uses it as bait. The ringing immediately catches the attention of the 3 survivors. Tiger raises his gun and rushes toward the sound. Alex follows close behind with a dark expression, but when they reach the phone, they find it lying alone on the ground. There is no sign of Soo-yeon. As the 2 men stand there confused, Monica suddenly screams from behind them. Soo-yeon has taken Monica hostage at knife point. She threatens Alex and orders him to drop the gun and surrender. In this life-or-death moment, Alex reveals exactly what kind of person he truly is. He does not hesitate for even a second, determined to kill Soo-yeon and bring the game to an end. Alex pulls the trigger. The bullet tears through both women. He is willing to sacrifice Monica without hesitation as long as it gives him a chance to eliminate Soo-yeon. Badly wounded, Soo-yeon forces herself to keep moving. She uses the last of her strength to stagger away through the forest. Alex refuses to let the opportunity disappear. He takes the gun and chases after her, determined to finish her himself. At the critical moment, the wounded Monica tries to stop him and disrupts his aim. Furious at being challenged, Alex brutally strikes Monica with the weapon. His final mask of humanity disappears, revealing the twisted and merciless person underneath. Soo-yeon continues running despite her wound. Every step sends intense pain through her body. She eventually stumbles into an abandoned warehouse. The pain becomes unbearable, and her vision begins to blur. With trembling hands, she pulls out an emergency injector and drives it into her arm. But the medication hits her system with overwhelming force. The violent rush instantly destroys what remains of her awareness. Soo-yeon collapses onto the floor and loses consciousness. As she drifts between life and death, memories of love and tragedy flood through her mind. She remembers peaceful afternoons having picnics beside the lake with Soo-ji. She remembers the 2 sisters talking inside their tent. Those ordinary and gentle moments were the most precious memories of Soo-yeon's life. Then the memories turn darker. Soo-ji's death, the criminals remaining free, the police being unable to help. That despair became the obsession that carried Soo-yeon through every moment of this battle. The enemy is now only moments away. With her life hanging by a thread, Soo-yeon hears Soo-ji calling her name. The voice suddenly pulls her back from unconsciousness. She rises from the edge of death, and the final confrontation begins. Soo-yeon disappears into the darkness of the warehouse. She uses the concrete pillars to create blind spots and hides beyond Alex's field of vision. When Alex moves close enough, Soo-yeon suddenly throws her backpack directly into his face. The moment his vision is blocked, she launches a fast and perfectly aimed flying kick into his chest. The impact sends Alex crashing to the floor and knocks him unconscious. With the unstable leader temporarily defeated, only one serious opponent remains: Tiger, the professional bodyguard. Unlike the other members of Flex, Tiger understands combat. He is disciplined, powerful, and far more dangerous than the rest of the group. The 2 close the distance and engage in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. It becomes the movie's most intense action sequence. Soo-yeon is already seriously wounded. Every movement pulls at the injury and sends pain through her body, severely limiting her speed. Tiger repeatedly targets the wounded area with precise strikes. For a time, Soo-yeon is completely forced onto the defensive. but her determination to avenge Soo-ji and the discipline she gained as a soldier refused to let her surrender. Instead of meeting Tiger's strength directly, she avoids his strongest attacks and focuses on his weaknesses. Using her superior combat training, Soo-yeon slowly reverses the fight. After a long and violent struggle, she finally breaks through Tiger's defenses and brings the battle to an end. Alex eventually wakes beneath the freezing mountain wind. He looks around in confusion. The forest is silent, and he is completely alone. His former arrogance and excitement have disappeared. In their place is a fear that reaches deep into his bones. As Soo-yeon walks toward him one step at a time, Alex becomes the helpless prey he once believed she was. He no longer has the courage to resist. Years of grief, rage, and unbearable patience explode inside Soo-yeon at this final moment. She personally brings Alex's reign of terror to an end. Every member of Flex who took part in Soo-ji's death has finally been eliminated. Soo-yeon has completed the revenge she spent years preparing. The story comes to an end, and the forest falls silent once more. Those who repeatedly commit evil eventually destroy themselves. Every criminal who moved through the darkness, treating human lives as disposable, was finally buried inside the deadly camping ground they helped create.